What's going on, world? It's your boy Gemini Brown here, back with another episode of Nalo Kiki Knowledge. Today, we'll be talking about the upcoming Saturn retrograde, talking about what you got to look out for, things like that. So, let's get into it. Saturn is currently in Aquarius. It is set to go retrograde on June 4th. This retrograde is going to take us from June all the way into October. Saturn is going to go from 25 degrees Aquarius back to 18 degrees Aquarius. So, just going to take us through the summer. All right. And as always with retrogrades, it is a time where we're going within. We're taking a step back. We're reflecting on the energy, observing it a bit, our habits, our tendencies. Specifically in the Saturn cycle, we're examining the structures in our lives, what we've currently built. And this is the last retrograde of Saturn in Aquarius. And time has been moving so quickly that if you don't really capture the moments, whether it be by journaling, going back to, I guess, these documented videos, we may lose sight of all the significant things that have occurred. But, in essence, Saturn in Aquarius really has its ties towards the pandemic and social limitations and the reorienting of how we acclimate ourselves in those ways. So with this being the final retrograde, I look at it as a check-in point with this transit and what that has meant for you, the individual, personally. And for all of this social limitation that has occurred from the pandemic has forced us to adjust to new ways of life, many new careers, new skills, undertakings. And as I meditated on this energy, it showed me the organization of Aquarius, or the Aquarian influence on the collective. In a subtle way, it's like, hey man, everything has its parts. Everything is a piece of the puzzle, and cause and effect and things of that nature. But essentially what I see from the Saturn and Aquarius thus far is that it's been filling us with power, personal power, transcendent power, the power to go away from what was the status quo and what's been built. Now within that, there's been a need for the individual to believe or embrace this change. But unconsciously, there's a part of all of us that clings to the familiarity and willingly, wants to be governed. That's just the truth of the matter. So you want to take a look at your Saturn retrograde, your Saturn in Aquarius transit, and say, where have I liberated myself? Where have I broken away of the conventional expectation? And where have I been able to access more freedom and all of that? Where have I, or what risk have I taken? Okay, how have I rebelled? I can, say for myself at this particular leg of this transit, as someone who taught full-time for 7 years, I've spent this year outside of the classroom. And that for me has been me being within that Saturn and Aquarius energy from the standpoint of self-governance, self-structure, providing myself with the day-to-day structure. And ultimately, it's for all of us to figure out, what is this new what is that represent for me? How is it playing out? And it leads back to Leo, the opposite end, having to dig into your individual talent and actualize that self. So my advice to you during this retrograde, particularly because it will be square Mercury, is to continue to refine and work on those skills, to continue to break away from the old patterning, the old conditioned states, the old reliances on the system, and ultimately like seek sovereignty. See, what is sovereignty to you? Okay, and with that comes Saturn and the self-discipline, governance. There's a structure that's needed. So during this retrograde cycle, if you can feel discouraged because it's square Mercury, you can feel easily discouraged. You can feel like, man, I got to start all the way from here when you really want to be there. But there's a reason why you're starting where you're starting if you lacked the foundation before. But based on what foundations you already have in place, you just got to start your race. So to read this, you want to look at where these transits are happening for you. Where's the Saturn retrograde happening? Where's the Mercury retrograde happening? Right? Then where are those in your own charts? And ultimately, what do those things represent? Okay? The next element of this is like playing the game. This retrograde is shaping us up for when it goes back direct and forward to be able to play the game better, to be able to have a stronger sense of self. Now, there is an effect of communication, things that need to be communicated, like almost saying like, if you're like whatever you're gonna do, you need to tap into Mercury. You're gonna have to put your Mercury on display in a way that it's never been on display. Okay, and that is ultimately what's going to trigger the different type of thought. So we want to focus on all of these, our mental perceptions. What is the old? Go take yourself back to 2015 if you have to, or further, and be like, what did I learn then that I'm still relying on? That's over with, right? What is the pandemic change within life that it's not going back to that? And whatever that is for you personally, you got to work at it. You got to anchor it, whether it's a mental understanding, some type of more actions that need to be taken. Certain reliances aren't there, but it's going to lead to greater self-reliance. So this is going to need to lead to doing work in some type of way, and more importantly, taking responsibility, not for some other. That's Capricorn. Like, damn, I'm dedicating on myself to help other people make money. No, if you apply yourself, if you accentuate this energy correctly, it's going to lead to personal advancement, more confidence, more exercising of your Leo. All right? So, I could talk you to death, but that's really the gist of it, of what you need to focus on. I'll probably go through these houses in my Patreon, so feel free to check that out. Join if you'd like to check out the additional content. Till next time, peace.